Welcome to another BackPageLead Vidcast. I'm Jonathan Howcroft. I'm joined again by Wayne Carey, and we're going to have a quick chat about all the action of round 13. Wayne, what was the highlight for you from the last round?
A highlight was probably the big game, Collingwood West Coast game. I think it showed that they're going to feature prominently, obviously, in deep into the finals, and both showed that very good sides.
Do you think defeat meant more for West Coast or victory for Collingwood? Which do you think was more important?
I don't think it mattered. It was a few points. It was a kick the difference. I think they both showed. They both got on runs. Collingwood got out to a lead. West Coast fought back, hit the lead in the last quarter. Collingwood were good enough to then hit the lead and win the game. Important that you're able to win close games. West Coast are a very good side, as is Collingwood. Importance of it. 4 points at this time of year, so guarantees them probably a top 4 finish. I think West Coast will finish in the top 4 also. So as I said, I think we'll see them feature prominently in the finals.
Do you think any of the matchups in that game had a specific bearing towards September, particularly thinking about Daniel Kerr for West Coast?
Yeah, there was a lot of unaccountability in the midfield. Kerr was left alone, Swan was left alone, Beams was good. I mean, I think tactically there'd be a few things that both sides would do differently, and I think we've seen that in the home and away season, that sides will try things against sides that they know that they may come up against in finals, and I think that'll be the case if they were playing in a knockout final or a prelim, something of that sort. I think you'd see that they wouldn't quite get as much freedom through the midfield. Collingwood
are now top of the ladder. They're flag favourites. We've had 4 or 5 flag favourites already this year. For me, it feels like we've settled on the right one now. Would you challenge that? You're
a Collingwood supporter, are you? No, they're deserving favourites right now. They've beat West Coast. I think we've already had Hawthorn, we've had West Coast. I think we had Adelaide. Well, Adelaide not probably premiership favourites, but they've all been talked about winning the premiership. I still think any of those sides are capable of winning it. But Collingwood deserve favourites right now. I think that's 8 or 9 in a row. So, they deserve that mantle. But every time a side has that pressure put on them, they tend to maybe drop a game, and then we might have a new one in a couple of weeks if Hawthorn keep going on their merry way. People will be talking about the Hawks again.
For my sins, I'm actually a Melbourne supporter, and they had a big game of their own this weekend against GWS, and it felt a little bit like the Giants have hit a mid-season wall. Do you think that's fair, or do you think it was just a one-off blip?
Well, look, on consistency, I thought GWS would beat Melbourne on consistency of effort. And but on the weekend, I was actually at that game, and I thought Melbourne were terrific. They really showed GWS how to go about footy, and I think GWS had probably an inconsistent attack on the ball, and I think Melbourne have been criticised about their attack on the ball, and I think they turned that around.
A match that you would have had a significant personal interest in was North Melbourne and Adelaide, and North Melbourne put in their best performance for 2 or 3 months since the round 3 against Geelong. What was it specifically about that performance that got them over the line?
Oh, look, I think for one, they've now beaten a good side for this year. When they beat Geelong probably weren't in great form, but they won the premiership last year. But it's been a while since the Kangaroos have beaten a side that we think will play finals footy. They beat the lower sides, so that might be a big confidence booster for those guys moving forward. I think the same as Melbourne, the same as GWS, same as Gold Coast. The Kangaroos have just been very inconsistent. On the weekend they were very good. It's important that they back it up this week.
Kangaroos are playing a high handball brand of football. Considering how the competition is developed and more of a kicking and particularly long contested kicking game, do you think that will stand up come finals time?
Oh, look, it's like whenever you're over-possessing the ball or you're getting a lot of possessions and you're using it by hand, it's important that your efficiency is up. Now, the Kangaroos have their inconsistencies in terms of that efficiency. So, like on the weekend, if their efficiency's up and everything's going well, they'll win. If they're put under immense pressure, that can break down. And Like I said, the most important thing for the Kangaroos is they back that up this week with a good win, because too many times they've had a win that we've all sort of said, oh well, that's really good, and then they've gone out and got beaten the next week. So it's important they don't do that.
The other big game of the weekend was Geelong taking on Sydney at the SCG, which to many people has confirmed that Geelong can't win this year's flag. Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I think that they got beaten by Sydney. Sydney are playing very good footy at the moment. I think Sydney are another one that, if everything goes well for them, are quite capable of upsetting a couple in September and maybe winning a flag. Geelong are the real danger for me. Whether they finish in the top four or not, maybe not. But I think they'll definitely make the 8, and they can be very dangerous from the 8. You only have to win 3 games from outside that top 4, and you're in a grand final. They are certainly capable of that. There's no question about that. I do agree that they're probably relying on a few individuals to get them through games and win those games. They're not playing great team footy at the moment. It's just not gelling for them. But that may be a little bit dangerous for the rest of the competition, because when it does, I still think they're very capable.
One final question on that subject. One of those individuals that they've been relying on is Tom Hawkins. He's obviously having a few problems in front of goal. Do you have any advice that you could pass on to him? Oh, look,
I think Tom's had his issues with his goal kicking. He's had his inconsistencies. The advice is practice, and I'm sure he'll be doing that. He's a good player. We saw that last year. He's had a couple of injury concerns this year, but he'll get back out on the track this year, and I'm sure he'll be practicing hard, and he'll want to bounce back.
Wayne Carey, thank you very much. We'll see you later on in the week for a preview of round 14.
Thanks, mate.